Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back with a Hong Kong content review, continuing on with the folk tale kind of period piece Jet Li movies, which I'm very much determined how to watch almost every single Jet Li movie that I can get my hands on. And I'm just going to go through the collection and see what I've got access to. I know there's a lot more Jet Li movies due to come out next year for Eureka and 88 films, so very exciting for sure. And I noticed I had one on the Shawscope Vol.2 box set, which is paired up with the barefooted kid. We have his martial arts of Shaolin. I just pulled the disc there and watched that last night. And this is a third entry in the trilogy. I'm not too sure about the other two movies. I think these are meant to be individual movies. They don't follow any kind of cohesive kind of, narrative. All these films are individual movies that have the same character essentially in different circumstances. I haven't seen the first two. I haven't got access to the first two. But from what I gathered from reviews and from what people have said, you can go into this one pretty much just kind of thrown into the kind of scenarios and what Jet Li gets up to in this film without any kind of prior knowledge to the first two movies. And diving straight into this one, Martial Arts of Shaolin was released in 1986, directed by Lin, who is known for infamous for kind of Shaw Brothers kind of main kind of staple movies with the 36 Chamber movies. I've only seen one of his directed lineup, which is Drunken Master 2, Jackie Chan, which is absolutely fantastic. This is my second film of that director, but I know he's done loads and loads of movies, so many available on the Shaw Brothers volume box sets, and many of the Scream Factory, Shout Factory versions are coming out also. So a lot to check out, a lot to kind of explore about this director. Just another one on my list to kind of get through as time goes along, and hopefully with some of these kind of crossovers that I'm kind of getting in the mood for, that will happen along the way. And as mentioned, this is a period piece kind of, martial arts kind of, temple film, cross between kind of mainland China, which is a lot of the kind of locations that's filmed in, a lot of really beautiful kind of like a temple kind of locations and outside kind of scenery, just really taking advantage of the spanning locations that this film really takes advantage of, which is really cool. And this has a very young, very cheeky Jet Li, which is great. He's definitely the highlight of the film for sure. Definitely got a lot of charisma, a lot of energy, definitely got that kind of spirit of kind of Jackie Chan. Definitely for sure, and I can see why he became such a big iconic star within the kind of period piece kind of movies, obviously leading up to Once Upon a Time in China and many of the great movies that he does alongside this. But I haven't seen the other two movies, so I'm not too sure if his performances is consistent throughout all of them or whether his character has some kind of arc, I don't know. But the film itself, Martial Arts from Shaolin, is just an okay entry. It's kind of like it's not bad, it's not great, it's just sort of in between. It's just an okay kind of, martial arts film. It's very standard, very kind of typical, generic kind of martial arts film that has some good stuff in it and has some bad stuff in it as well alongside. As mentioned, Jet Li is the most likable character in the entire film. He's a kind of a scoundrel. He's very much kind of that Drunken Master Jackie Chan kind of vibe to him. And as mentioned, Jet Li is a very likable character. He's kind of like a pupil that is basically kind of following under the kind of the Buddhist kind of temple. He's learning the kind of the martial arts from day to day. There's challenges. He gets up to hijinks with his friends. He's kind of taking the piss out of the masters. There's a couple of cool sequences where he's trying to get, one of the masters is sick, so he tries to trick him by having put some herbs in his kind of like his buns. It's quite funny. There's some good kind of drag kind of sequences. Like, it's an hour and a half film and it feels like a 2-hour movie. I think the biggest downfall of this film ultimately is down to two things. One, the pacing is just really bad and how it constructs a lot of the story. A lot of portion of the story is kind of like a day in the life of the Shaolin Temple monks, and you get to know Jet Li and kind of his past and who that character is. He wants to be the best, kind of thing, and he has a destiny as well with this kind of like, with a woman he meets later on, which is quite interesting. And there's a personal angle he does towards the second and third act, which I'll get to in a minute. But in terms of all the temple stuff, it feels very much like a day in the life. They're really taking advantage of that temple sequence in terms of a lot of the kind of the hijinks and the training and showing off various characters. Really, really cool stuff, absolutely. And then the other part of the film is this kind of very standard, very typical bad guy taking over a kind of another monastery kind of area kind of thing, and he's the typical bearded, mustaching, like, villain bad guy. I don't remember his name, I don't remember his motivations. He's just a bad guy that's basically killing a lot of people, and a lot of people want him dead. So you've got Jet Li's character, you've got two other characters from a rival kind of Shaolin temple. I think the North Temple and there's the South Temple. And then you've got a woman in between, which basically wants revenge for her parents being killed by this man, from what I believe. And she has a a destiny, kind of like a prearranged marriage that kind of links into kind of Jet Li's kind of character a little bit as well. The storyline and how it's portrayed and how it kind of presents all this is very goddamn messy, and as mentioned, the pacing of that is so bad. Sequences going for so long, it kind of gets a bit repetitive, it gets very tiresome very quickly. There's a lot of stuff which like, okay, okay, we're done, we get it, let's move on, let's get to the next bit kind of thing. There's no sense of urgency to the film whatsoever, and even when the film picks up and starts to get moving again with the story, it kind of goes on for too long. Or action scenes are really fun as well. There's some great martial arts, sword play, there's all sorts of really cool kind of set pieces within outside locations and in temple locations, which is awesome. Mixture of variety of stuff. But again, it goes on for too long. It kind of drags on, drags. It's like, I'm getting bored now. Let's wrap it up. This is becoming a bit of that Jimmy Wan Yu kind of thing, where it's showing some cool stuff, but it's not showing any variety. With Jackie Chan and some of the late kind of Jet Li movies, it kind of changes things up. It keeps the camera kind of personal and close. It feels more like it's film the coverage, let's get all these scenes kind of put together quickly in the edit. I feel like the film has a little bit too much improvisation and not enough kind of clear coverage of what he wants to do in terms of the story. Again, like for a lot of people, the story doesn't really matter for a lot of people. For me, being the fact I've seen so many Hong Kong movies, especially Shaw Brothers, when's the film going to kick into the actual story? And then you get this really kind of overly long kind of lion dance sequence, which I like these lion dance sequences, especially with like Young Master and Drunken Master 2 and this, and even with the latest Last Hero of China with Jet Li as well. Some really cool, brilliant lion dance kind of sequences that really kind of add something to the film in terms of a flavor. And I like how that ends in this, in terms of going from a lion dance sequence to an assassination attempt. That's really cool, but get to the point quicker kind of thing. To the boat sequence, it just goes on and on and on and on. Granted, it is a much more cleaner, much more interesting kind of fight with kind of Jet Li taking on the bad guy, and then you get some more personal stakes with the masters coming in from the Shaolin temples. The villain gets a really kind of nasty kind of, final kill, which I think is really cool and really awesome. In terms of character arcs, in terms of the story, in terms of where it's all put together, it's very messy, it's very disjointed. It's not really clear thought out. There's even a sequence where there's clearly meant to be these characters talking, because you can see them talking in these scenes, where they've put this kind of music kind of track to kind of speed it up a little bit. They're trying to establish emotion or a feel of Jet Li's character being potentially kind of prearranged marriage to this woman that wants revenge, and they put this kind of like sappy kind of love track kind of thing over it, which clearly this is meant to be a scene because there's actors are talking in that. It's a good attempt. I'm not too sure what the other two movies, maybe they're better, I'm not too sure, but in terms of this one, it's not one I would return back to. Maybe for the one or two of the fight sequences, maybe for one or two, in terms of the comedy moments, but as an hour-and-a-half movie, it feels like a 2-hour film. You're in a little bit of trouble there. So that's been my thoughts and opinions on martial arts of Shaolin. What are your thoughts, guys? Please comment down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on the first 2 entries? Are they worth trying to track down? Are they available on Blu-ray potentially? Is it worth watching them 2 first and maybe watching them as a trilogy? Or they work as individual movies? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions, guys. Please comment down below. In the meantime, guys, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.